chosen ones. I'm not talking about your typical what goes around comes around scenario. No, this is something far more intense. They've never seen karma hit this hard, and it's hitting where it hurts the most. This isn't a slap on the wrist, it's a full-scale reckoning. The universe came to collect, and now they're sitting in the rubble of their own actions. It's scary how fast tables turn when you cross the wrong one. Trust me, they're learning the lesson now, whether they like it or not. No amount of money, power, or sweet talk can save them. Severe karma doesn't knock lightly. It invades every corner of your life, like a storm flooding a home. It leaves no place untouched and no illusion intact. Drop a comment. I am the karma they feared, if their actions are coming back full force. For them, the suffering wasn't limited to external chaos. Severe karma works its way inside, breaking the mind as well as the body. And the irony? They never saw it coming. Their own actions, those calculated moves meant to harm others, became the chains that bound them. Karma doesn't strike randomly. It has its roots deep in the spiritual fabric of existence, weaving cause and effect in ways most people fail to understand. Their suffering wasn't just the result of actions, it was a consequence of spiritual misalignment. When someone's soul is driven by envy, hate, and deceit, they disconnect themselves from divine protection and instead attract forces that thrive on chaos and destruction. Ancient wisdom has long warned us about this. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that actions born of greed and hatred lead to ruin, not just in this life, but in the spiritual realms as well. Similarly, Christian scriptures caution against sowing deceit, reminding us that a man reaps what he sows. These aren't just poetic warnings, they are universal truths that show how imbalance in the spiritual world inevitably manifests as chaos in the physical world. Their envy and deceit drew in energies that consumed them from within. They thought they were untouchable, but every malicious thought, every calculated betrayal created an energetic leak that drained their strength and opened them up to the very destruction they sought to avoid. Their suffering wasn't random, it was the spiritual equivalent of gravity, pulling them into the abyss they created. This wasn't punishment, it was consequence. When you sever your connection to the divine, you invite forces that thrive in darkness to take over. For them, the suffering wasn't just external, it was spiritual disintegration. Karma's most brutal lessons are the ones learned too late, and for them the reckoning came like a tidal wave, leaving no time for escape, no space for denial. The realization hit like a freight train. Every lie they told, every betrayal they committed, every manipulative act had brought them to this breaking point. The cognitive shock of this awareness was the beginning of their downfall. Picture the moment when someone looks into the mirror and finally sees themselves for who they truly are. For them, it wasn't just the face staring back. It was the shame, the regret, the haunting knowledge that every act of deception had led them here. This moment of self-awareness can be shattering. Their thoughts, once filled with smug satisfaction at outwitting others, now twisted into regret and fear as they grasped the enormity of their mistakes. The lies and slander they spread began to unravel one by one, pulling apart the very fabric of their lives. Friends distanced themselves. Their name became a warning instead of a badge of respect. Humiliation replaced the false confidence they once carried. They were no longer the puppet master, but the subject of ridicule and scorn. Social fallout is karma's most public punishment, and it left them ostracized in ways they never thought possible. This pattern isn't new. It echoes through history and fiction alike. Think of Macbeth, whose unrelenting ambition drove him to commit heinous acts, only to end up isolated and consumed by paranoia. Or Frankenstein, whose obsession led to the destruction of everything he loved. These characters are mirrors of their downfall, consumed by the very obsessions they once believed would empower them. Philosophers have long warned of this truth. Aristotle once said, "No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth." But in their case, it wasn't truth that isolated them. It was the absence of it. Their world, built on lies, crumbled under the weight of reality. By the time they realized the depth of their mistakes, it was too late to repair the damage. Their reckoning wasn't just a punishment, it was a lesson, one they couldn't ignore. Karma's hardest teachings don't offer an escape route. They force you to confront the very core of who you are, whether you're ready or not. You're not just the chosen one. You're the whole damn revolution. You're the fire they can't extinguish, the force that shatters their limits, the power they'll never understand. While they scramble to keep up, you're rewriting the game. Chaos? That's your playground. Setbacks? Those are just stepping stones to your throne. You don't need their approval, their applause, or their understanding. You move on a level they can't even see. You don't just survive, you dominate. That's why the Obsidian Inner Order was made for you. This isn't some feel-good group. It's a dynasty of legends who know their worth. Every week, over 450 chosen ones get on electrifying calls that aren't just talks. They're blueprints for power moves. These aren't moments you forget. They're recorded so you can tap into the energy whenever you need to level up. The private Discord isn't just a chat. It's where real ones connect, break through limits, and turn ideas into movements. For those ready to make cosmic moves, Chosen Singles connects powerhouses who know they're destined to rise together. And the Star Chamber? That's where the raw, unfiltered truth lives. Truth too dangerous for the mainstream, but exactly what you need to rewrite reality on your terms. This isn't a question, it's a call. The fire you feel isn't random. It's the sign you've been waiting for. The portal is open. The link is in the description below. Step through it. It's time to take what's already yours. Karma doesn't rush. It waits patiently, aligning its arrival with impeccable precision. For them, this wasn't just a series of unfortunate events. It was a perfect storm, where every element converged at exactly the right time to deliver justice in its most devastating form. Divine timing isn't random. It amplifies the impact of karma, ensuring the lesson hits harder and lasts longer. This delay is what makes karma so powerful. The universe doesn't strike immediately because the weight of karmic retribution builds over time. Every lie they told, every betrayal they carried out, added to the storm gathering on the horizon. It's like a pot of water on the stove. At first, the heat is subtle, but over time the water boils, and by the time they noticed, it was far too late to turn down the flame. Astrological teachings reflect this principle of delayed reckoning. Take Saturn's return, a cycle that occurs every 29 years, symbolizing karmic accountability. This isn't mere superstition, it's a reminder that the universe operates in cycles, and what you plant now will inevitably grow and bear fruit later. For them, the seeds of deception they sowed years ago ripened all at once, and the harvest was nothing short of catastrophic. Every event in their life seemed to align in a way that made their downfall unavoidable. The promotion they secured by undermining others suddenly fell apart due to a misstep they couldn't predict. The person they betrayed rose higher, casting a long shadow over their diminishing reputation. The relationships they sabotaged came back to haunt them, as former allies turned into adversaries. It was as if the universe choreographed a masterful play where every scene was designed to strip away their illusions. This is the brilliance of divine timing. It doesn't just punish, it teaches. The longer karma waits, the sharper its impact, forcing them to confront not just the consequences of their actions, but the very choices that brought them here. In this perfect storm, there was no escape. Every lie they told, every selfish move they made, came together like a collapsing house of cards. And the timing? It was no accident. Karma ensures that when the reckoning comes, it leaves no question as to why it arrived. Karma's reach isn't confined to the individual. It extends outward, rippling through their relationships, environment, and even the lives of those connected to them. When someone's actions are rooted in deceit, manipulation, or malice, the downfall they face often triggers a chain reaction, like a collapsing house of cards. And for them, the consequences didn't stop at their personal suffering. Their negativity seeped into the lives of everyone around them, creating chaos that no one could escape. Imagine a toxic spill contaminating a pristine river. The damage isn't limited to the initial leak. It spreads downstream, poisoning everything it touches. For them, their downfall was like that toxic spill. The relationships they had built on lies disintegrated, dragging others into the fallout. Friends, colleagues, and even family members who once stood by their side found themselves embroiled in the chaos, unable to escape the consequences of being associated with them. Sociologists describe this phenomenon as a shift in group dynamics. When a manipulative individual loses their power, the group structure adapts, often leading to the exposure of hidden truths. In their case, this meant that their closest allies began to turn against them. Those who once followed their lead started to distance themselves, and whispers of discontent grew louder. The collapse of their social influence wasn't just a personal failure, it disrupted the balance of their entire community. The ripple effect wasn't only social, it was energetic. Negativity is contagious, spreading like wildfire through the people and spaces it touches. Their downfall left a mark, creating a wake of mistrust, anger, and disappointment in those who had believed in them. Even those who weren't directly involved felt the weight of the disruption they caused. But karma's ripples also serve as a warning. They remind us that no action exists in isolation. The harm they inflicted on others didn't just bounce back on them. It extended to everyone within their orbit, reshaping lives and altering paths. The ripple effect shows how one person's choices can create widespread consequences, turning their personal reckoning into a collective one. For them, the fallout was unavoidable. Their lies, their betrayal, and their manipulations didn't just destroy their life. It impacted everyone around them, like a storm tearing through a forest and leaving nothing untouched. When karma strikes, the most devastating battlefield is often the mind. For them, the weight of their actions didn't just shatter their external world, it unraveled the fragile threads holding their psyche together. As the consequences of their betrayal and deceit unfolded, they faced a mental siege they were wholly unprepared for. Guilt, once a faint whisper in the background, grew into a deafening roar. Every quiet moment became an interrogation, every shadow a reminder of the darkness they had unleashed. Sleepless nights turned into endless battles with their thoughts, as they replayed their actions over and over, searching for a way to undo the damage. But there was no escape. Guilt isn't a door you can close. It's a window that stays open, letting in the cold reality of what you've done. Paranoia soon followed. They started to see enemies in every corner, conspiracies where none existed. The lies they told to others became the lies they told themselves. But the cracks in their mental armor grew too large to ignore. Their paranoia wasn't just a fleeting feeling, it was a prison. They couldn't trust anyone, not their closest friends, not even their own mind. Clinical psychology explains how unresolved guilt and chronic stress can lead to a cascade of mental health issues, including anxiety, insomnia, and even psychosis. For them, these weren't abstract conditions, they were lived experiences. Sleepless nights blurred into chaotic days, and their once sharp mind became clouded with confusion and fear. And then came the identity crisis. Their carefully constructed facade, the image they had worked so hard to project, began to crumble. Without the lies and manipulations to prop it up, they were forced to confront their true self. It was like looking into a mirror and seeing a stranger staring back, someone they didn't recognize and couldn't stand to face. This fracturing of identity was more than an existential crisis. It was a complete disintegration of who they thought they were. History and public scandals offer countless examples of this psychological collapse. Consider powerful figures who fell from grace, undone by their own actions. Their mental unraveling wasn't just about the external consequences, they were haunted by their own reflection, by the choices they couldn't take back. For them, the breakdown was total. Their mind became a battlefield where guilt, paranoia, and regret waged an unrelenting war. Karma's most brutal lesson wasn't the loss of their status, wealth, or relationships. It was the loss of their peace, their sense of self, and ultimately, their sanity. Karma's most haunting punishment isn't the chaos it brings to your life. It's the moment it forces you to confront the truth of who you've become. For them, this reckoning came like a cold, unflinching mirror, reflecting every decision, every betrayal, every lie they thought they had buried. There was no escaping it. Their reflection stared back at them, demanding answers they couldn't provide. Self-awareness can be a gift, but for someone who has spent their life running from it, it's a curse. In the quiet moments, when there were no more lies to tell and no more distractions to cling to, they were left alone with themselves. That's when it hit. They had become the very person they once despised. Their ambitions, their schemes, their hollow victories, they all crumbled under the weight of this realization. Psychologists call this the shame spiral. It's the inescapable descent into self-loathing, when the gap between who you are and who you thought you were becomes too wide to ignore. For them, this spiral was relentless. Each attempt to deny or rationalize their actions only tightened the grip of shame around their psyche. The mirror effect isn't just psychological, it's spiritual. Ancient teachings warn that those who act out of alignment with truth and compassion will eventually face the ultimate judgment, themselves. For them, this wasn't a metaphor, it was a visceral experience. They saw their reflection not just in a physical sense, but in the faces of the people they had hurt, the lives they had disrupted, and the opportunities they had squandered. This self-awareness left them with only two paths: redemption or ruin. For some, facing the truth can be transformative, igniting a desire to change and seek forgiveness. But for others, it's too much to bear, and they retreat further into bitterness and denial, doubling down on the very behaviors that led to their downfall. For them, the choice wasn't so simple. The shame, the guilt, and the loss of their illusions had left them fractured, unsure of whether they could rebuild or if they even wanted to. The mirror had revealed the raw truth. Karma wasn't just about external consequences. It was about forcing them to see themselves for what they truly were, and that, more than anything, was their greatest fear. While karma unraveled their life, the ones they sought to harm, the chosen ones, remained untouched, shielded by an unseen force far beyond their comprehension. The chosen ones didn't need to retaliate. Their silence, their resilience, and their unwavering integrity became their most potent form of justice. The chosen ones are often misunderstood. They are not vengeful, nor do they delight in the suffering of those who wronged them. Instead, they walk with a quiet confidence, knowing they are aligned with a higher purpose. For them, karma acts as a protector, ensuring that no harm inflicted upon them goes unanswered. It's not about revenge, it's about restoration. This silence is powerful. The chosen ones understand that retaliation only invites chaos into their own lives. Instead, they step back and let karma do its work. Their ability to rise above the pettiness of their adversaries amplifies their strength, casting a long shadow that intimidates and unsettles those who sought to break them. For the ones suffering the consequences of their actions, this strength is a constant reminder of their failure. They see the chosen ones thriving, untouched by their schemes, and it deepens their regret and fear. The success of the chosen ones magnifies their own shortcomings, making the weight of their karma even heavier. The chosen ones also serve a greater purpose. Their resilience is not just personal, it's inspirational. They show the world that it's possible to endure betrayal and emerge stronger, to hold on to integrity when faced with deception, and to trust that justice will always prevail. Their story is a testament to the power of faith and alignment with the divine. In their downfall, the ones who inflicted harm are forced to confront the truth. No amount of malice, manipulation, or deceit can defeat someone who is truly protected. The chosen ones don't just survive, they thrive. And their elevation becomes a beacon, a reminder that integrity is a shield no enemy can pierce. For the chosen ones, this isn't about vindication. It's about moving forward, carrying their lessons with grace, and continuing on the path they were meant to walk. And for those who wronged them, it's a sobering reality. Karma doesn't just punish, it exalts those who remain true to their purpose. Karma isn't confined to one person's actions or one individual's suffering. It's about restoring balance to the universe. When someone's deceit or malice disrupts harmony, the consequences ripple outwards, realigning not just their life, but the collective equilibrium of the world around them. Their downfall isn't an isolated event. It's a part of a larger narrative, a necessary act of cosmic justice. For them, the reckoning wasn't just personal, it was universal. The harm they inflicted created imbalances in their environment, distorting relationships, communities, and even systems they were a part of. Karma stepped in, not simply to punish them, but to restore the balance they had disrupted. Their suffering became a catalyst, forcing change and exposing truths that had been hidden for far too long. Think of a corrupt leader whose lies and greed crumble under the weight of their actions. Their downfall often marks the beginning of reform, not just for them, but for the system they exploited. Similarly, when someone harms others through deceit, the exposure of their actions often creates space for healing and renewal in the lives they affected. This isn't just about individuals, it's about the collective. Their karmic reckoning sends a powerful message. Actions have consequences, not only for the person committing them, but for the fabric of society itself. When their secrets come to light, it's not just a moment of personal shame, it's a warning to others, a reminder that no one is immune to the laws of the universe. This idea is reflected in nature and history alike. Ecosystems heal when destructive forces are removed. Societies evolve when corrupt systems collapse. For them, their downfall wasn't just about their own redemption. It was a necessary act to restore harmony to the world they had disrupted. The bigger picture is this: every action contributes to a larger cosmic balance. When someone sows chaos, the universe responds with order. Their suffering served a purpose beyond their own life. It was a step in the eternal dance of justice and growth. For those watching from the outside, their story is a reminder. It's not just about avoiding harm, it's about understanding that every choice we make ripples out into the world. Their downfall wasn't just a lesson for them, it was a lesson for all of us. A stark reminder of the unyielding truth: the universe always restores balance, no matter how long it takes. Karma doesn't play favorites. It doesn't care about your wealth, power, or influence. It operates with a chilling neutrality, ensuring that every action, no matter how hidden or insignificant, will eventually return to its source. For them, this truth was both terrifying and inescapable. They had spent years believing they could outsmart the universe, but karma doesn't allow for loopholes or exceptions. The scariest part: karma works in ways no one can predict. It isn't bound by time or logic. What you thought you buried long ago resurfaces when you least expect it, and in ways you can't prepare for. For them, it came as a chain reaction. Small cracks in their life grew into uncontainable fractures, leaving them exposed and vulnerable. Their carefully constructed world didn't just collapse, it imploded, taking everything with it. This isn't superstition, it's a universal law. Ancient teachings across cultures warn us of the inevitability of karmic consequences. The Bible reminds us, you reap what you sow. The Bhagavad Gita explains that every action generates an equal reaction. And even science, with principles like Newton's third law, reinforces the idea that actions are never without consequences. For them, this was no abstract concept. It was a brutal reality that tore through their life with unrelenting force. Karma's impartiality is what makes it so terrifying. It's not something you can manipulate or avoid. You can't run from it, and you certainly can't hide. The forces at work are unseen but unstoppable, shaping outcomes in ways that often seem supernatural. For them, the timing, precision, and sheer magnitude of their reckoning made it clear. The universe sees everything, and it forgets nothing. Their story is a cautionary tale. It's a reminder that every choice we make sends ripples into the world, and those ripples always return. The scary truth about karma isn't just its inevitability, it's that it holds a mirror to your soul, forcing you to confront the consequences of your actions when you least expect it. For those tempted to act out of malice or deceit, take their story as a warning. The universe is always watching, and karma is always waiting. The cost of your actions might not be immediate, but the debt will come due. And when it does, there's no escaping the truth. Karma never misses its mark. Karma is more than just a force of retribution. It's a teacher, relentless and precise, guiding us toward growth and transformation. For them, it was a hard and unforgiving lesson, a reckoning that stripped away every falsehood and left them exposed to the raw truth of their actions. But karma isn't cruel, it's fair. It offers not only punishment but the chance to change, to rebuild from the wreckage with new understanding. For those who walk the path of the chosen ones, take solace in this truth. Alignment with integrity and positivity is your greatest protection. No amount of malice or deceit can harm you when you stand rooted in truth and purpose. The universe will always ensure that justice is served, often in ways far more profound than you could imagine. Their story stands as both a warning and a lesson for all of us. Every choice matters. Every thought, every action sends ripples into the world, shaping the future in ways we cannot foresee. The question isn't whether karma will act, it's when and how. So reflect on your own energy. Are you sowing seeds of positivity, or are you setting the stage for your own reckoning? Share your stories, your truths, and your experiences, because the more we understand these universal laws, the more we can align ourselves with the forces that protect and uplift. Karma is always at work, ensuring balance and justice, one story at a time.